Yeah, I think, so for me there is the business, and the business has got goals, and they want engineering to achieve those goals. And so those are two pillars, and I think the third pillar there is the customer now. You've got to have the focus on your customer and what they want, because you can't just do what the business says because you want to achieve the customer's goals. And so I think its role of engineering is to be there, to be that mediator. Interestingly, most product teams, who tells engineering what to do? Typically it's marketing, and there's a product team under marketing. We don't have that function that way. Some people have it under IT, is the product team as well. We've actually got it as a separate team, so they can mediate between and get the holistic view, customers and business and engineering, and bring those three things together. But that to me is really important, therefore, for the CIO to be at the executive table, because you need to understand what the business wants and how the business works, and it also goes the other way around. My role at the executive table is I very much take on as the digital educator. Right? So I often will bring in to our executive meetings an external speaker, or I will speak myself. I'll take an hour slot, most executive meetings, to talk about some weird area of technology that it's good for people to know about, but they might just know about, that doesn't really affect them, but if they know about it, they'll be able to better work with their teams and better understand their market, better understand customers, etc. And so one thing I do, for example, is every now and then I run an executive book club, where I get the whole company to vote on the book that they want the executives to read. Right? It's like, why? What can I learn? But it's been a real eye-opener. The last one we did was, actually the first one we did a few years ago was the Lean Startup. And now the Lean Startup is like just the way we run our business internally. So that paid off in spades. And people were dubious when I first did this, right? They're like, what? That's techie stuff, we need to know it. And it did transform our business 2 years ago about how we actually work.
I have to agree that the conversation for us is interestingly changed. I think when I first joined MI9, I was the person who could get everyone a cool new phone. Anyway, we got past that, a couple of exec meetings in, and I think similar to what AJ mentioned and a little bit of what Simon said as well, is that sort of earned a right to participate over a period of time, and the technology practices that we use for a full agile development house as well as just the way that we work. So most of my team are reading the latest books, are on all the tech blogs, very aware of what's happening in the market and what's happening globally, far more aware than perhaps some of my colleagues at the exec team. So our ability to sort of influence and talk more broadly about what's happening with our competitors and what the HuffPost is doing, what BuzzFeed is doing, and that's all really relevant to our business. These guys weren't necessarily thinking that way. So I think over a period of time, by getting them cool phones and taking a little bit of the IT slack, we've actually earned that seat. And I think that it's making a big difference in starting to influence the way that the entire organization, almost our entire organization, including our sales team, now runs using a version of MI9 Agile, which is pretty phenomenal. It's really changed the way that we approach business generally.
I'm going to disagree with everyone.
We need someone to disagree.
I'll tell you a few stories. I recruited a CIO for a top 10 company, top 10 listed company in Australia. I gave them 3 resumes, 2 extraordinarily good qualified CIOs and 1 really, really average technologist. And guess which one I picked?
The really good one.
No. They picked the technologist, and I sit and had a big fight with the board, and I said, why did you pick that person? He'll do what he's told, was the response. The number 1 question I get from CEOs and boards is, why do I need IT? I presented to 2 CFO conferences of 100 people in the last month. And I asked them, how many of you in the room, the CEOs and CFOs, how many in the room trust your CIO to implement your digital or your technology strategy? Why don't you have a guess at what the percentage was? 10%. You're within 10%.
First of all, was ours there or not?
There was 2 out of 100 in Melbourne, there was none in Brisbane, and I'm doing the same presentation in Sydney next week. So I think we're working on the mistaken belief that us as an industry are well connected and doing well. There are definitely spotlights of people doing great jobs, but on the whole, we are not aligned with industry. We have not earned the seat at the table, and we don't have the seat at the table. None of the banks are no longer have a seat at the table. None of the mining companies have a seat at the table. None of the oil and gas tech companies have a seat at the table. So we've gone through this period of losing trust. I feel like